Hi, I'm Colleen Strain, and I'm here with my colleague Rob Champagne.
Hello.
He's a fifth grade teacher, and we also have along with us Rick, who's got his old-fashioned steno pad and his old-fashioned traditional grades of D plus, 64%, a 2.13 grade point average. He's gotten some zeros and some late reports on his work. So that's Rick. And we're going to talk about traditional and student-friendly grading practices and just kind of have a discussion about what we think about those and how we might consider the conditions for actual quality grades. So some 100-year-old traditions that we've learned about, which is why we have Rick here, are using letter grades, percentages, GPAs, group grades, that means grading everyone together the same, putting in attendance and behavior within the grade, giving zeros to kids, not allowing late work to be turned in, and not allowing students to reassess or resubmit work, which might end up turning a student into someone who doesn't really love learning as much as we really would want kids to. So I was going to share, or I did share with Mr. Champagne some of Ken O'Connor's points in his video, and we thought we would just have a little discussion about it. So when you think about our school and or your classroom, how confident are you that the grades that our students get meet the four conditions that we talked about, like being consistent, accurate, meaningful, and really supportive of learning? Or what are your opinions on that?
I think it depends on your opinions of those four terms, because as one of four fifth grade teachers, I don't think there's any way that the four of us do the exact same way of grading. So your opinion or your thought process on accurate, for example, and consistent definitely could be different. I believe my grading is accurate and consistent, but if I compared it to the room next door, it might look completely different.
And that's something actually we talked about last night in the collaborative solutions team meeting, that consistency, and not necessarily about grades, just consistency overall in a school is really challenging to accomplish. So I could see where that would be an issue in grading too. What do you think about grades being meaningful, and how do we give information of student achievement of their learning goals? How do we get grades to be more meaningful for kids?
In my opinion, I think it depends on the level the student is at. In an elementary level, I'm not sure the meaningful part is going to look anything like it does in a high school level. At an elementary school level, we should be looking more at, are they progressing? Are they learning? Are they trying? Because that's what is the important part once they get away from here is, are they trying? Are they putting effort to progress? And the ABC or 1, 2, 3, 4 systems are kind of outdated because of that. And at the high school level, it gets so manipulated as everyone gets worked up about college scores that I don't think it's accurate across the board, and I don't know how it would be.
Right. So what I'm hearing you say, I think, is at the elementary level, we really want them to put forth effort and not so much worrying about grades, so to speak, that we really want them to enjoy learning and put forth or contribute, so that as they move on getting older, when grades become more vital, I guess, in terms of college bound.
Yeah, definitely. When a kid comes in and they forgot an assignment and they think they're getting a 0 and they could fail a class because of it, it can be a little traumatic for an elementary school kid, and it gets them to shut down.
Right. And then we could turn into Rick here, even when we're in high school. So having zeros and not being allowed to turn work in or try things again, sounds like it sends a really poor message, because even in adulthood, we get many extra chances to do things. And
yes, we do. And while we do have deadlines in adulthood, we have to kind of build up to what an actual deadline looks like. And, there does become a point where, if nothing gets done, it should still reflect, but how we're reflecting it isn't always accurate.
Right, and how can we reflect that in a way that is meaningful to the kids and that they're learning from it versus, oh, I'm just going to take the 0 because then I really don't have to do anything and maybe I like that.
Yep.
So actually making them work and have to do things over really, I feel, is better than just taking a 0. And
definitely, yeah, giving them the extra time to actually go through the process, help them out if they need the additional help, that's much better than a letter grade or a number grade or whatever it might be.
Right. So then that kind of segues into supportive of learning. So how obvious is it to everyone? Everyone's a really big word here, that the purpose is on learning. I don't know. What do you think about that?
I don't think it is at all.
Mm.
I don't know if the grading system does show an emphasis on learning. It's kind of just, to many people, it looks arbitrary.
Right.
So I don't believe it's supportive of learning whatsoever. Understanding that colleges and even high schools are looking for some type of data to support that a student should attend their school, but that data is kind of cold. They don't know the person, the individual whatsoever. So I'm not sure it's really useful in what we're trying to accomplish.
Well, and when you're talking, I'm thinking about that word everyone. It almost sounds like this is a cultural thing.
Uh-huh.
In our society and culture, how do we make it obvious? Again, another big word to be that grading is really learning. Like in the video, Ken O'Connor says school should be a learning game, not a grading game. But how do we shift that mindset of for everyone to understand that?
It's an enormous challenge getting everybody.
Yeah.
We still have teachers that believe it's a grading game versus a learning game as well. And
So we almost have to start there.
it's going to be, yeah, it's going to be tough though. Again, everyone is the tough part. I don't think with any industry, everyone is included.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know how you would get everyone on board with that.
Well, then looking on to the next point here on the notes I took from the video, it says we really want students to think and parents to think, and hopefully teachers too, as you said, what can we do to improve our learning versus what can we do to improve our grade? So I suppose the magic or emphasized word would be learning. So if we really talk more about learning versus teaching, learning versus grading, maybe that's the
Well, and that comes
shift we need to
into,
take
yeah,
or make.
the shift then isn't the report card or the grading system. It's the discussion and conversation we're having with the students and getting to know them. And if you only get to know your kids through a grade, you don't know if they're learning.
Right.
You could have a student getting 100% in everything they do. They might not have learned a single thing in your classroom the entire year because they already knew it.
Yeah.
But if you converse with them and get to discuss issues with them, you figure out if they're learning or not.
So maybe it goes back to then that reporting out system, whatever it is you use, of old-fashioned report card on paper, or now we have these apps where we have, when our school has this Infinite Campus where parents can access on an app the students' grades, which right now in elementary school are pretty much standard based. Not all of them are science, social studies, and health are not. And then maybe it's how that's set up, because does that, when I look at that, do I think of learning or do I think of grades? When I look at a report card, do I think of learning or do I think of grades? So maybe we have to start with the actual reporting out.
Definitely, because as a parent of a few students, when I look at those grades, with my younger student who just entered middle school, I don't look at her report card at all, even though she's an honor roll student. But it's meaningless to me. I talk to the teachers about, what is she doing different? What is she doing better? What does she need to improve upon?
Yeah, which is more about learning.
The standards don't mean much to me as a parent. Now, as a teacher, I have to look at it from a different perspective, and I know I have to report out on those standards, but I also question why.
So to wrap up our conversation, how do you think, Mr. Champagne, we can convince teachers to move away from old-fashioned traditions of grading to more student-friendly learning practices that focus more on student learning than just grading? How can we convince teachers like yourself to think about more how we can be more friendly in our grading practices to kids so that they actually get learning out of it versus my grade, my grade, my grade?
That's a very difficult question. I think there's two ways you could look at it. You can start at the bottom up with teachers and talking to them about changing the way that they look at things and having people that can demonstrate results by going at it with that approach, or starting at the top up and filtering down and having universities and high schools not so focused on the grading system and the grade point system and all of those things that show that it actually can work. There isn't an easy solution to it, though.
No. And then as I'm sitting here looking around your classroom, I'm thinking maybe even really just focusing on our students, because really we have the most impact and effect every day with them.
Yes.
And maybe we can at least try to maybe start with them, which instead of trying to convince teachers, really try to convince our students that it's more about your learning and really focusing on them about how can we make how we grade you or assess you, see how you're doing, more friendly and more meaningful.
Absolutely.
Speaking of that, we have 2 students coming in right now. Hi, guys. So we're going to wrap up this video with Mr. Champagne, Mr. Rick, and Mrs. Strain. And thanks for listening.